Good evening, I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're watching News X. Our big focus this hour is politics and protests over the Citizenship Amendment Act continue across India. Microsoft's India origin CEO Satya Nadella has now criticized the act and stirred an immigration debate. As per reports, Nadella at an event in Manhattan was quoted as saying, "I think what happened is bad. It's just bad," he added. He also said that he would love to see a Bangladeshi immigrant become CEO of Infosys or set up a startup like Unicorn. These reports led to much debate and criticism online, after which Nadella released a carefully worded clarification on the matter. In his clarification, he was quoted as saying, "Every country needs to protect national security and set an immigration policy," unquote. Well, this statement went on to clarify his stance that in democracies, people and government will debate within those bounds.
As far as Nadella ji saying that, well, he would be happy if some immigrant Bangladeshi becomes the CEO of Microsoft tomorrow, I would say that, well, yes. I mean, as far as immigrants are concerned, there is a process of citizenship in this country. Anyone can apply for citizenship, even the Prime Minister has said. Once they apply for the work permit, once they apply for citizenship, if they become citizen, as many have become citizens, of course they can do whatever Constitution bestows upon them in this country.
कौन विरोध कर रहा है, कौन पक्ष ले रहा है, एक अलग विषय है। सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट लागू हो चुका है और पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, अफगानिस्तान से जो रिलीजियस माइनॉरिटीज़ के लोग हैं, जो धर्म के नाम पर सताए गए हैं, अगर उनको नागरिकता मिल रही है तो किसी को क्या दिक्कत हो रही है। अब तो शुरू हो गया। यूपी में तो 32,000 से ज़्यादा लोग चिन्हित किए गए हैं जो रिफ्यूजीज़ आए थे, उनको हम नागरिकता देने जा रहे हैं। और कुछ तथाकथित बुद्धिजीवी और कुछ कांग्रेस के नेता और कुछ विपक्ष के नेता सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट पर पूरे देश को भड़काने का काम कर रहे हैं, जो दुरुस्त नहीं है।
And let's open this up. Banu Chandar Nagarajan, consultant of the World Bank and leader of the BJP, is joining us live. TV Mohandas Pai, former director of Infosys, is also live with us in the broadcast. Harish Bijur, brand guru, is joining us live on the program. And Sumit Peer, industrialist and IT sector expert, is also live in our studio with us. Let me begin with you first, Mr. Mohandas Pai. Your initial reading of what Satya Nadella has come out and said, which kicked off this entire storm, and then of course his clarification later. Do you support what he said in his initial statement? Are you satisfied with his clarification, sir?
I'm not satisfied because I think Satya Nadella is a very confused person. He's very confused because he does not know the issue what CAA is about. CAA is about an amendment to an act for people who are coming here from the persecuted minorities of a neighborhood, and it's limited to people who came before 31st December 2014. It has got nothing to do with legal immigrants. It's nothing to do with people getting visas or coming here. Bangladeshis get the largest number of visas in India.
Yes.
They're welcome to come, get a work permit, work in any company. So I don't know why he's so confused. There's no necessity for him to make this statement and say we are very sad, because there's nothing to be sad about. I think it's happened because Satya Nadella, like many of the Indians there, moves in the circles of Indian academics who are very left, who are anti-NDA, and who always have been pissing on India. I'm using a bad word, but I think the word describes it. Defaming India and making a living by pushing down India. So they are pushing him in the social circles to talk about this, saying that India is becoming illiberal, India is becoming this and that. And I think that is what is causing him to make this statement. He's very confused, unnecessary to make it, and he's burnt his bridges with many, many people in India who respect him because there was no necessity. And what he did in this carefully worded document or statement, he just tried to cover up his mistake.
Okay, so you believe he was speaking on behalf of a lobby, and you know, he obviously is biased in his view. That's your charge, Mr. Mohandas Pai. But the fact is, you know, in his clarification,
he's not factual.
Yes, in it, but
you have to be factual. He's not factual.
So you
he
believe
says that he wants a Bangladeshi to come and
yes,
do this. Fine, they can still do it.
Okay, so you believe his stand was actually erroneous in nature, but he has, you know, come out and then said that it is healthy that at least a debate is happening on these issues. Is that a view you support, that at the end of the day in a healthy democracy there does need to be dissent and debate?
Because look, he's not here I don't know whether he's an Indian citizen at all. Yes, he's of Indian origin. If there's a debate here is happening, there's no necessity for him to say that he's feeling sad about something. What is there to be sad about? Because the CAA doesn't impact any Indian. It is about a carve out, a fast track for a limited number of people. The same rights people had before the CAA is available to everybody even today. Nobody's rights have been taken away. So what is the issue? And why is it necessary for him to make a statement and get involved in Indian local politics?
Okay. So you're saying his statement is factually incorrect. Let me get in Harish Bijur at that point. Harish Bijur, how do you view Satya Nadella's statement and, clarification, of course, which came in later? What's your analysis of his view and do you support his stand?
Well, I have a very limited point to make because this is not a debate on the CAA or the NRC.
Absolutely.
My limited point is it's not the business of business to comment on CAA or NRC. Businesses need not comment on it. External comments, particularly the comment comes from Satya Nadella, who is on overseas soil. And I think, external comments are odious. A country doesn't like external comments. A country encourages internal comments like anything. So I think that's a mistake Satya Nadella has made in the sense that you may be a global business. You may be a very large business. You may be Microsoft. But the sovereignty of a land is certainly superior to a global corporate. And I think that's important. This debate is all about possibly a kind of nationalism at one end and a kind of globalism at another. So if you look at it, I think Microsoft must mind its Microsoft business and India will mind its own business.
Okay.
So I think words like bad and sad, possibly qualitative words, which should not have been uttered by a global business head.
Just a quick
Because
counter
it's
view
really
then.
not the
Just a
mandate
quick
of a
counter to
global
that
business
point,
head
Harish
to
Bijur
do
coming
this.
in. If I can play devil's advocate, a quick counter to that view. There can also be some who would argue that Satya Nadella was speaking in his personal capacity at that event, and he was merely airing his opinion on what is transpiring in India and not necessarily Microsoft's opinion. Would you disagree with that view? Or do you believe when he speaks, he can't disassociate himself as the CEO of Microsoft?
You are the CEO of the corporation, and your persona is subsumed to that of the CEO position that you possibly occupy. And I think Microsoft has realized this, and so has Satya Nadella. If you see the tweet that was sent out by Microsoft later, I think it was a bit of damage control for sure. It's extremely important. Another point I want to make, that in India, commerce knows no religion. Believe it or not, if there is a unicorn possibility from any religion or any kind of a country, India is the first to invest. You look at Indian unicorn businesses, and I think all proposed unicorns or aspiring unicorns, you'll see this happening. So I think, talent finds its level in India, and I think Mr. Satya Nadella himself is a case in point. Talent has found a global point as far as Satya Nadella is concerned.
So you believe then that it is unfortunate that someone who of course is also representing India at a global forum, considering he is of Indian origin, should speak critically in this manner of what is transpiring in India, Mr. Bijur?
Well, I think I'll put it this way, that, Indian origin is always respected. India celebrates its overseas successes. India has contributed hugely to the overseas diaspora of corporate leaders. So there's a great degree of respect. We respect Satya Nadella like nobody else's business. But the point is, it's important to be careful on what you comment. This is not a debate on the positives or the negatives of CAA/NRC. This is a debate of must an overseas global head comment on an issue which belongs to a country at this point of time.
Okay, so
I think that is the point
Mr. Mohandas
that
Pai,
I'm making.
are you in agreement with what Harish Bijur is saying? He is saying it is not, the role of business to comment in politics. He feels that obviously Satya Nadella cannot disassociate himself from Microsoft since he is the current CEO, and that's why he cannot take, the defense that he was speaking in his personal capacity. And this could perhaps be seen as an attempt by a global business in interfering in one country's internal political affairs?
Satya Nadella is known as the CEO of Microsoft. He's not known as Satya Nadella individual. Let's be very clear of that. He's the CEO of Microsoft. When he speaks as the CEO, he represents Microsoft. He cannot say it's his personal opinion. Second, I don't think he's an Indian citizen to even claim that he has a right to speak. And the non-Indian citizen has no right to speak about Indian politics. And third, he's in a business. Like Harish said, it's not the business of business to dabble in politics. It's all about politics. And lastly, for a person who's so brilliant, person who's so accomplished, he's very confused and he's been very ill-informed about the CAA. The CAA has not taken away rights of anybody. The CAA has not taken away the rights of any legal immigrant. CAA has not done anything wrong. And just because some leftist academics in India are bashing up the government, spinning stories, and maligning India, doesn't mean he must fall into the trap just to please them because they happen to be in circle. He's like Raghuram Rajan commenting on the CA, which is none of his business. He may have been the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, but he's gone, and we don't want him to comment. And I don't see why he should comment without knowing the facts. I think these people have not even read the CAA. They don't understand the issue, and they must not comment when they don't understand, because now the leftists and all these malcontents, all these Islamists will quote him and say, oh, the Microsoft CEO is also saying India is wrong. Why do we know this? It's none of his business, and I think it's tarnished the image of Microsoft in India by making such comments.
Okay. And do you also believe then, before I go to Mr. Nagarajan and Mr. Peer in our studio, Harish Biju, do you also believe that he was factually wrong, as the point that Mr. Mohandas Pai is making, that he has made this about immigration, he has made this debate about immigration regarding CAA, saying that he wants and hopes to have a Bangladeshi, head Infosys, or, set up a company like Unicorn in India?
I think he was certainly wrong, and I think Satya Nadella has realized it. I think the moment the comment, which came as an offshoot of a discussion in Manhattan, came out, I think, he realized it, and I think they've tried to damage control for sure. So I think to an extent, the issue is buried, and it's over, and I think it's going to be business as usual most of the time.
Okay.
Microsoft / Satya Nadella has made a mistake, and I think they've realized that.
Okay, let me get in Mr. Nagarajan then. At the end of the day, this is a statement, sir, which of course has come in from someone who, of course, India is very proud of as being one of our Indian origins, residents who has made it big abroad, who's now, of course, become the CEO of Microsoft. What is the BJP's view on this entire controversy? Are you critical of Mr. Nadella's stand? Do you also believe that he is embarrassing India?
Satya Nadella's comments are absolutely misguided. I think he should fire his advisor or whoever is giving the wrong information. They are falling prey to the Goebbelsian propaganda of the left liberal ecosystem in India. In India, very much like the US, we have set processes for getting a work permit, working here for 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, and there's a set process for becoming citizens. Very much like in the US, illegal immigrant just cannot jump over from Mexico and actually get a work permit and start working there. There's a set process. We are a sovereign democratic republic. We are governed by the rule of law. There is a process to follow. And as far as foreigners becoming CEOs of Indian companies, there are way too many examples. Mr. Gunther is the CEO of Tata Motors. Mr. Kenichi is the CEO of Maruti. Mr. Wolfgang is the CEO of GoAir. Mr. Philip Hayden is the CEO of Himalayas. There are n number of examples of foreigners coming to India, working and making it big. So there is absolutely no issue with it at all. In fact, if you look at historically, the Farsis who have come over to India fleeing persecution actually have come and they become a thriving business community here.
No, he's citing the example of a Bangladeshi immigrant because, at the end of the day, his point of view is that a Bangladeshi Muslim immigrant will not be given citizenship under CAA.
Bangladeshi, any immigrant from any country can come to India legally, go through the process, get residency, even become citizens through naturalization, come and work in India. We are very welcome. As we said, we are one of the most liberal societies in the world. We we welcome immigrants, but they have to come through a normal process. They cannot just jump over the fence and then try to do things here. So we are actually very much advocating the rule of law and due process here. And Satya Nadella is absolutely misguided, and whatever he said is condemnable, and his retraction is also very lethargic. It's not something very convincing.
Okay, Sumit P, at the end of the day, how will this be taken, particularly in business circles, given the fact that you have a sitting CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world making this statement?
I think, Uday, first of all, Mr. Nadela's statement is factually incorrect. That has to go out. There is nothing in India which is bad, or there is nothing in India which is sad. Na hi bad hai, na hi sad hai. तो यहाँ और उसके होने की संभावना भी नहीं है. That's point number 2. Point number 2 is Infosys is a great company. We have a lot of good Indians who have the full capability of running it. We might not need a Bangladeshi immigrant to run Infosys. And I think Infosys is doing great. I agree with Mr. Mohandas Pai. The fundamental disconnect I have here, with due respect, I have been an NRI myself. I have lived out of India a lot of years. But, there's a difference between an Indian American and an American Indian. So if you're an American Indian, that means if your passport is already American and you're of Indian origin, that way there is no American. Everybody has migrated to America from somewhere. So if you're an American, you have decided to change your passport, happily be American, live there. We have no problems. But Uday, where I have a problem, I want to come more from a perspective of a political analyst. And you and me have done numerous debates on CA, and I keep on doing it every day. The problem is that, Uday, we have 103 crore people, a billion people in India come and vote, right? 45% people, 450 million people have voted for this government, and this government had this at a part of their mandate and manifesto. They have just done what is a part of their mandate and manifesto. We have met these guys from Pakistan who are in shambles literally. They are the Dalits, they are persecuted, they are Dalits. They literally were living a life of hell there, who have come here. We have given them a place to breathe. We have not given them the throne of Delhi. I don't know where on earth people in America see there is bad and sad here. What is bad and sad here? If a bunch of people who are living here have been persecuted in our neighboring countries because they are Islamic countries, they come here and they get a shelter here, they get a right to survive here. Why are you casting aspersions on the nation of India? And when the people of India have voted for this government, and this government has rightfully done what it has the mandate for, where is the issue? Mr. Nadella, with great positions comes also great responsibility. I agree to Dr. Pai and the other panelists, which he rightly said, you are the CEO of Microsoft. You have to be careful in what you say, because people across the world cannot have this impression. An Indian Arjun guy is, saying there is bad and sad in India. I fundamentally reject.
There will be those like Sumit Peer in our studio, Harish Bijur, who will make an appeal to Mr. Pichai that if you're so concerned about India, why don't you come back and work in India? Why not have the ghar wapsi of
we don't need a Bangladeshi to run Infosys. They're good people. They're smart guys.
I want to.
Okay, but before Harish Bijur comes in, yes, Mr. Mohandas Pai.
I want to make another statement. It's like Dr. Raghuram Rajan. Raghuram Rajan has no business commenting on India. Now, we had Arvind Subramaniam, who was the CEA, worked with Arun Jaitley, and he goes back and again maligns India by coming out with some report which is not based on good data. And he comes again and talks about things which he should not. I mean, it's unethical, uncalled for. After being CEA and having seen the economy, he should just shut up and go away and disappear and not comment. Even Raghuram Rajan should not comment. India is none of his business. He has left us. He has gone. We are very happy he was here. I defended him when Subramaniam saw me criticize him. I defended him publicly. He's a good man. But he should not go there and start commenting and maligning India like he does every now and then. It's not his business. If he wants to do that, let him come here, work with us, help us change India and develop this country. What role does Arvind Subramaniam or Raghuram Rajan have now on India? We are staying here. We are fighting the battle. We are paying taxes for our country. We are giving away the money that we earn. We are helping build this country, create jobs. What are they doing? And they make loose comments, malign our brand equity, make us look bad. I think we should all stand up as Indians and protest.
Harish.
To say, go away, don't do that.
Harish
like Amartya Sen also. Amartya Sen comes here every December like a winter bird, comments on some silly thing, makes a fuss and goes away.
Harish Bijur.
I think he should keep quiet.
Okay.
It's time that we Indians here told all these people, please don't come and malign us. If you want to come, please welcome, stay here, work with us, build up, criticize, become Indian citizen. Then we are very happy with you.
That's Mr. Pai, point taken. Let me get in Harish Bijur.
Become an Indian citizen first.
Harish Bijur.
Become an Indian citizen first.
Harish Bijur.
Well, I'm going back to my limited point to say that a business leader must be careful. A global business leader needs to be even more careful. just as another country cannot pass a comment on the internal issue of another country, I do believe a global business must not pass a comment on the internalities that exist within a country, particularly something which is so sensitive, something which has divided opinion within the country. So I think let the business of the country be the business of the country, and at the end of the day, what happens in India possibly stays in India. And I think that may be a good approach to take, and I think Microsoft has already taken that approach, and I think Satya Nadella hopefully has realized that this was wrong.
Okay, you know, let me quickly take it back to Mr. Pai. Now, interestingly, Mr. Nagaraj, of course, made the point that there are several, excuse me, several people who have actually come from outside India and become CEO of Indian companies. You listed out several names, but taking it back to you, since you have held a senior position at Infosys, and since the example that Satya Nadella quoted was also of Infosys, is it currently possible, Mr. Pai, for a Bangladeshi immigrant who is of Muslim faith to become CEO of Infosys, to get citizenship once the CA now is kicked in?
Of course, Infosys, as far as I know, when I was there and even today, hires people purely on merit. Not on ethnicity, not on religion, not on gender, etc. But their promotions there on merit, hiring is on merit, and anybody can become CEO of Infosys if they're capable of running the company. They have to work, they have to fight the battle, and that is it. So we had Salil come in from outside. Salil is a wonderful CEO. He's come in, he's CEO. I mean, and we don't care. We don't care. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. When I was there, I'm sure even now the same policy goes up. Having known Nandan, that board will pick the best person to run the company. Because in a globally competitive business, the best person to run the company, irrespective of your ethnicity, your gender, or your religion.
Okay.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, Sumit.
You know, I fully agree with Mr. Pai. That's what the thing is. You know, Uday, where on this earth are we associating religion with this? We say any Bangladeshi is good enough. If he comes here, he can run the Infosys. But why do we say Muslim immigrant from Bangladesh? What has Muslim and the immigration got to do with it? Because he has to be a competent person. Because at the end of the day, Infosys is not something, it's not running a shop. It's a very big and a complex company to run. You should have the necessary skills. You should have the ability. If you stand up with the masses, you will be able to run. I have lived 10, 12 years out of India, and I have worked on various positions, came back to India, right? When I got a job there, they will not question my religion. They will not question my thing. If I'm competent enough, they'll give me a job. If I'm not, they will not.
Nagra.
So, modern day CEOs arrogate to themselves the role of social justice warriors. Mr. Nadella, if he wants to be one, he has to educate himself on what the CAA is. It is about giving citizenship to people fleeing persecution. For example, like 1,000 women every year in Pakistan are converted. Okay, and 95% of the temples post 1990 in Pakistan have been demolished. The percentage of minorities in Pakistan reduced from 20% from independence time to less than 3% now. So if at all, like Mr. Satya Nadella wants to be a social justice warrior, let him educate himself on these facts and actually not side with these forces fighting against these people fleeing persecution. Okay. So he should be very careful about what he's doing and probably educate himself more on what the CAA is before making like loose comments.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it at that. We're completely out of time. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us live on this particular debate.